One of the hardest lessons I ever had to learn was that not every rejection is a reflection of your worth. Sometimes it's information. For years, I thought being overlooked meant I needed to work harder, improve more, become more attractive, more successful, more impressive. I thought if I could just become enough, the people who didn't see my value would finally see it. But eventually I realized something. Some people were never going to see me the way I wanted to be seen. Not because they were bad people, not because I was a bad person. We simply weren't a fit. And that's a difficult thing to accept, because most of us are taught to keep trying, keep proving, keep earning, keep convincing. But what if the lesson isn't to try harder? What if the lesson is to stop chasing validation from people who were never your people to begin with? Think about how much energy people spend trying to be chosen by someone who isn't choosing them, trying to fit into spaces where they don't belong, trying to earn acceptance from people who don't appreciate what they bring to the table. After a while, that becomes exhausting. Not because you're weak, because you're constantly swimming against the current. One of the hidden strengths that comes from being overlooked is that eventually you start paying attention to something different. You stop asking, "What's wrong with me?" And you start asking, "Why am I trying so hard to belong somewhere that isn't working out?" That's a completely different question, and it leads to a completely different life. The truth is, when people genuinely appreciate you, things feel different. They move differently. They handle you differently. You don't spend all your time wondering where you stand. You don't feel like you're constantly trying to earn a place in their life. You don't feel like you're auditioning for acceptance. You don't get the feeling that, in a way, they enjoy your discomfort. They may not always agree with you. They may not always understand you. But they don't make a habit of making you feel small. They don't treat your interest, your affection, or your vulnerability like something to be mocked or made fun of or seem embarrassed to be around you, especially in public. And they don't leave you constantly questioning your value, because when people genuinely want you in their lives, there is usually less confusion, more acceptance, and more clarity. That doesn't mean relationships are effortless. It doesn't mean life becomes easy, but there is a difference between effort and delayed self-erasure. There's a difference between growth and always trying to earn the right to exist peacefully in someone's life. Some of the strongest and smartest people I know are people who spent years feeling invisible, not because invisibility is good, not because rejection is a gift, but because it did force them to build qualities that don't depend entirely on external approval: resilience, self-awareness, empathy, depth, boundaries, the ability to stand on their own 2 feet, the ability to survive disappointment without losing themselves. Those things matter, and often they matter far more than the approval that people spend years chasing. And one day you may discover something surprising. The people who appreciate you most aren't the people you spent years jumping through hoops for, trying to impress. They're the people who see you clearly from the beginning. The people who celebrate your presence through good and bad times, instead of merely tolerating it when novelty loses its luster. The people who make you feel welcome, instead of making you audition for belonging. The people who realize value without having to throw you away when the grass appears greener in other yards. And when you find those people, something shifts. You stop measuring yourself through the eyes of those who never understood you, and you stop measuring yourself through the eyes of those who never really cared to truly know you. You stop treating rejection like a verdict. You stop treating invisibility like proof that you lack value. You begin to understand that not every closed door is a message about your worth. Most often, it's just a sign that you are or have been knocking on the wrong doors. Maybe the goal was never to become attractive enough for everyone. Maybe the goal was never to be chosen by everyone. Maybe the goal was to find the places, people, and relationships where you don't have to constantly convince others to see what's already there. Rejection and invisibility may have taken your confidence for a while. It may have taken your hope. It may have taken years of your life. But it doesn't get to decide who you become. That part is still yours. And maybe, just maybe, that's what rejection and invisibility was trying to tell you all along. If this message resonated with you, let me know in the comments. And if you're interested in conversations about psychology, health, human behavior, relationships, self-worth, and the experiences that shape who we become, consider subscribing and joining this community. We're going to keep exploring the things most people feel, but don't always talk about. Until next time, take care of yourself.